Welcome to Shit's Getting Real with Sax, where we strip back the filters and get raw about life, money, emotions, and business. This is your safe space for unfiltered conversations, the kind that make you feel seen, understood, and deeply connected to something bigger. No bullshit, no pretending, just real stories, deep truths, and the occasional existential crisis. Because life, it's messy, it's magical, and it's meant to be truly felt. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Shit's Getting Real with Sax. That's me, your girl, your host. And today I'm really excited because I have been dating. Oh my gosh, crowd goes wild. Woo! And it's a boy. I know, crazy considering that 2 months ago I was talking about how I was falling in love with a girl, but time moves fast, and Saxony moves faster, apparently. Nothing bad to say about that situation. Like I said in that episode, I was very much just happy to have that experience because I knew that even if that experience was to end and it wasn't meant to continue, then I was always going to be grateful that I had found that availability within myself to be able to experience something completely new and really just let myself explore things based on how I was feeling rather than based on what I thought I knew about myself. So I'm still forever grateful. And now I have decided that I would open myself back up again to new connections and new people and see sort of what the universe brought me and where I can be at. Because honestly, something that I have been really, really working through this year in particular is the ability to be seen and held by somebody else. Because I've gotten really good at being hyper independent of dealing with my own emotions. And I know that I can get through anything, and I have so much belief in myself, in being able to hold my own emotions and accept my own emotions and release my own emotions. And sometimes it also just feels like, even though I am available to do that for myself and I can do it myself, I still have the desire to be held from another person. I still have that desire to be seen and felt and realized and just accepted, and not someone who wants to come in and be like, oh, this is what you need to do, or someone who's like, oh, I'm going to go and fix the problem for you. Like, no, I can do all of those things myself. I just want you to lay with me and hold me in my arms and make me feel safe and make me feel seen and just allow me to move through my emotions the way that I need to, That sense of just let me exist, just let me be, just let me process, and just let me move through this. And I think that is sometimes a really hard ask of other people because we have been taught for so long that there is this basis and this meaning that comes behind other people's emotions, and everything that another person feels or experiences makes something mean something about us, right? And so this was one of the issues that led to the breakdown of my relationship, I suppose, with this girl, was the fact that it was like my emotions or my processing and my language of how I was processing through things was deeply triggering in the sense of, because we weren't physically close to each other, with her being in another country, she couldn't physically be there to support me. And so in order to feel supportive, she would instead utilize language and communication and try and fix the problem. And I was like, I don't need you to fix it. I just need you to listen. I don't want you to do anything. I just want you to see me and accept me and be supportive of that. And some people just can't do it, because for her, it was a case of, like, in conversations, she would bring up to me that she would struggle with that feeling of like, okay, but that makes me feel like I'm not doing enough. Like, I'm not good enough to just make you feel better. And even though that wasn't how I felt about her at all, that wasn't at all what I was going through, that was how my emotions were making her feel. And so I just took a break and took a step back and pulled myself back into my own emotions and back into my own circle and my own little world, and worked through everything that I needed to work through by myself. And yet I still had that craving for connection, I suppose, but on a really deep personal level. After dealing with that for a little while by myself, I was like, okay, I'm going to start dating again. I'm just going to date just to see what it's like, because I don't particularly see myself being with an Australian man or woman. I can't lie. And the reason behind that is I love learning about people who have a completely different background to me, because I love the fact that we get to help each other be different to what we know. The childhood that you grew up with and the childhood that I grew up with are so completely different that we have such different attitudes towards things, that we have different expectations of things. Like, it's such an eye-opening experience to date someone from that particular, like, category of people, right? And in a place like Perth or a place like Western Australia, honestly, I really struggle to find that. I think that this place is such an isolated place in the world, and people come here mainly for the sake of the mining industry, and the mining industry can also be really closed off and really closed-minded, and people get stuck in this cycle of behavior and this cycle of thought. And it's not everyone. That is obviously a, like, massive generalization. There is always people out there. However, I just felt like I didn't want to deal with that variety of people. So what I did was go into a dating world instead of that sense of being like, this person is going to be my forever person, and I really want to see how compatible we are to make things work long term, and to do this and to create a family and to have a house, and all of those, like, extra societal pressures of how you're supposed to be dating. Like, oh, the next person I'm with is going to be the love of my life and I'm going to stay with them forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. It was like, let me just let go of all of the expectations, of all of the worries and concerns and everything that I think should be happening, and let me just step into a space of, the universe will be connecting me with people for the sake of being able to teach me a lesson, whether it is a lesson about myself and how I process and things that trigger me and ways that I can get more secure within myself, or whether it's that I learn about other people and how to communicate with them better and how to interact with them better and how to form better connections, or whether it is a case of just learning what I don't want and what I no longer will settle for in a relationship and in a partnership and in a connection. Whatever it is, each connection that I am shown will be there for the sake of teaching me something. And I just think that that is such a powerful way to really dive into the dating world and dive into that aspect of release and surrender and allowing with whatever will happen while still maintaining your strong boundaries. And I think that is the bit that has been so different for me in this time dating in comparison to ways that I've dated before, because I've gone on this date and connected with this soul man who realistically does tick a lot of boxes in regards to what I would look for in a partner, and was sort of kind of pretty much like 90% what I had been asking the universe to provide for me and to give me. And I was able to really just open myself up to that in the sense of, okay, 90% of what I want isn't 100% of what I want. And I don't particularly want to settle for less than what I want, because I know that the universe can provide for me exactly what I actually want. And so I'm going to deep into this connection and into this missing 10% and figure out how valuable it actually is to me, how valuable the other characteristics that I do look for are in comparison to this characteristic that is missing, and also what are the different factors that I am seeing in myself with this missing 10%. And so I started analyzing within this connection the way in which I show up, rather than does this person like me? Like, it was that sense of like, do I want this person? Do I want to feel like this in my lifetime? How does this thing that they do make me feel? How does this thing that they say make me feel? And starting to really just be open and honest with the sake of, this probably isn't a forever thing. This dynamic isn't 100% congruent? Is that even a word? It isn't 100% what I'm looking for. And so if it isn't going to be the forever thing, what is the lesson in it? What is the security that I can find in myself? And in that, I've been able to stick really strongly to my boundaries that I have in regards to involving other people. And this is also something that is extremely new for me, because in the past, I've always been a person who's like, out of sight, out of mind. Like, I don't care what you do when I'm not around. It's when I am around that I'm not going to have you prance other girls in front of me. When I'm not around, do whatever you want to do. I don't care. But when I'm around, it's me and you. And that was always sort of the basis that I had, and the way that I set up different dynamics with people. And after going through a situation of getting, for lack of a better word, cheated on last year, it really just solidified for me that I actually don't like the energetic frequency of how it makes my body feel to know that you're sleeping with other people. I just don't like it. And so I'm not going to put up with that. And that's not something that I'm going to sacrifice on, because it makes me feel emotionally out of whack with my own body. And there is no necessity for me to be putting my body through more stress or anxiousness or emotional discomfort or avoidance, or like, I'm so connected in with that And I want to stay connected to that, and I want to stay true to that. So if that's what you want to do, that's cool. I was there. I'm not shaming or shunning or saying that that behavior or that type of way of life is wrong. I think that it's so important for every single person to experience a hoe phase. Like, I actually genuinely think that every single person on this earth should experience a hoe phase where you're just emotionally detached and you just go around and you have one night stands and you explore different things with different people, because even in that, you learn so much about yourself. You learn about your own pleasure versus performative behaviors in bed. You learn about what you like and what you dislike. You can get introduced to so many new sexual things. You get introduced to so many more, like kinks, for example. You can be accessible to so much more stuff so that you can actually find what works for you and what doesn't work for you, if you're doing it in a way where you're actually like open to things. Realistically, the whole idea of actually just connecting with another human being at all on any basis is really, what can I learn from you and what can you teach me? And I think that when we're dating people, we forget that because we're so hooked on this idea and this notion of the love of my life, my one true love, like we're soulmates. Everyone who changes your soul or who opens you up to a new iteration of yourself, whether positive or negative, is your soulmate. Anyone who has made you feel emotions so deep that you have to sit and think about them is a soulmate, because they're teaching you to look inside of yourself at your soul. They're guiding you and your soul into deeper knowing and deeper knowledge and deeper sacredness. I don't know what word to use, but really they're actually just connecting you back to yourself. And this is the thing, these toxic situations, people be like, oh, that was the worst thing that ever happened to me, blah, 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 blah. Yes, I agree. And no, I'm not taking away from the pain of that. But if it wasn't for that situation, you wouldn't be in the position that you are in now. I think that I'm going on a tangent that isn't really making sense, but I hope that that is landing. I just want to emphasize, I suppose, the realness and the rawness that is connection that we're ignoring. Like, we're blatantly ignoring it as a part of society when we're dating people and when we're going out, because we have this whole list of things that is so predominant in the influence of Mr. Right or Mrs. Right. And I don't believe that there's anybody out there who is 100% perfect for us. I think that love and connection comes from growth. And I think that being able to find someone who you can happily grow with and who sees you and who values you and who worships you as the divine being that you are, rather than the things that you do for them or the things that they are, or you are, sorry, in that moment. Someone who's able to not see the potential, but to see the divinity within you, to see the holiness, to see the God, to see the essence of your being, right? And why would you want to settle for anything less than that? Why would you want to settle for someone who isn't so deeply in tune with themselves that they continue to attune you to yourself? And that is such a powerful, powerful tool that relationships hold within our world. And we think, oh, you can only do that in a romantic relationship or a deep friendship or a family relationship. But no, you can access this through just dating as well. Dating is just an experiment of getting to understand yourself better so that you know what you want and what you don't want. That's why we don't always end up with the first person that we date. And I think even that in itself, like releasing this pressure of like, okay, I'm dating someone and that person needs to be my forever and ever and ever. That person might just be valuable for your next 6 months of growth. And once you've learned that lesson, maybe you guys won't be of value to each other anymore. And that's actually so beautiful because you reach the peak of your life with each other. And then you get to go separate ways. And you get to explore yourself so much deeper in a new avenue with a new person later. There's so much fear that I feel is put onto us in the dating world of locking someone down and having someone be that for you forever and ever. What about if that person is just your person to teach you these lessons right now? And how much deeper can you continue to dive into your own world, into your own ideas, into your own reality, and see what you want to compromise on and what you're happy to be like, you know what, I could live another life in a different belief, and what beliefs are actually so strongly true to you that you're like, no, I am not going to sacrifice myself for this, because every single time I sacrifice my feelings and my beliefs in this particular way for these particular types of people, I always end up resenting them, upsetting myself and torturing myself, or going down a path that I know isn't aligned for me. And I think the more that we do that and the more strength that we have in ourselves and in our boundaries, the easier it becomes to walk away from things that don't serve us. Like now in this dating realm, I find it so easy to have that idea of not becoming emotionally invested in somebody else's experience. It is so clear to me when someone is speaking to me and projecting their emotions or their insecurities, or whether I'm actually feeling that from them or with them. For example, I was having a conversation with this guy that I'm dating. And again, this is that guy who's like 90% good. And when it's good, it's really good. And there is a really strong connection. And that 10%, it does just still hold strong. And so for me, I'm like, cool, we can be emotionally disconnected in a sense, because we know this isn't going to be a forever thing. So I'm not going to get emotionally attached to your outcome or the outcome of this relationship. I'm going to utilize this to learn about you. You can learn about me. I'm going to learn about myself more, and you're going to learn about yourself more. And our next relationship is going to be even better because of that. And I have been open and honest with him about that. I have said that. And in a conversation that we were having the other day, he was being vulnerable and telling me about himself and traumas that he's been through and things that he's experienced. And I was listening and listening and listening, and there was obviously parts within that I wanted to process and that I wanted to deep into thought about, because that's me and that's who I am as a person. And I like to find out information, and instead of just assuming that everyone is the same as me, listening to it from their perspective, thinking about it back in my perspective, and then putting myself in their shoes and listening it through their perspective again. And I wasn't really allowed to do that in this conversation, because the avoidant tendencies that he was showing just flew to the surface. And there was this massive projection of like, oh, you don't feel safe now, you feel a specific type of way, you're gonna leave, this is what happens. As I open myself up, people leave. And I was just sat there like, whoa, 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 back the truck up, back up, back up, back up, back up. Because that's not how I feel at all, actually. In fact, it couldn't be more opposite to how I feel. And I'm so grateful that you've felt accepted by me enough to share this information with me. And I'm just want time to process it because it is a lot of information. And then because of that avoidance tendency and that projection, I could feel within myself the anxious avoidant attachment coming right up to the surface of, I was like, fuck. How do I make him see that that's not me? How do I make him see that I still like him? How do I make him see that it's not that big of a deal? How do I make him feel heard? How do I make him feel seen? And so instead of being upset about actually the fact that he just projected all of this stuff onto me and being like, whoa, buddy, calm yourself, I went into that anxious attachment of being like, he feels like shit, I need to help him. And I don't like that feeling. And so it was so nice for me to sit back after and realize, okay, I can see how this pattern has played out so much in my previous relationships and my previous situationships and my previous dating life. And I see how I get trapped in this cycle of wanting to be the bigger person, to reject my feelings, to create this sense of security for other people. And it was like, okay, well, I don't owe this man that. And instead, I owe it to myself to stay strong in myself and my boundaries and where I am and how my feelings are and all of my emotions. And so after reflecting on that, it felt so freeing to me to be like, okay, cool. So this is what we get to teach each other. I get to teach you that you don't get to just project that shit onto me. That's not fair. And you've already taught me that other people's emotions aren't my emotional problem. And it's more important, and I should be more concerned about how something is making me feel than about how it's making everybody else feel. And so after that, I was very much like, okay, well, if he wants to be avoidant and he needs to go and have space from me and he wants to go and do his own thing, he can do that. It doesn't actually mean anything about me. It means so much more about him. It means so much more that I have learnt the lesson and that I get to be accepting and loving and caring about myself. And I now have the thought processes of being like, okay, well, where do I feel like that comes from? Where do I feel like that anxious attachment comes from? How does it make me feel? What are the ways where I would like to move in a different way? How can I change this attitude? How can I change this behavior? What are the ways that I want to show up? What are the ways that I want to behave in relationships? How do I actually want to live my life apart from this cycle that I'm now choosing to break? And this is what I'm saying because I went into this dating world being like, I'm going to learn the lessons that I need to learn. And now I'm in this place where I can either choose to repeat the cycle or I can choose to move in a different way so that one, the relationship that I have with this man can be more honest and truthful to myself. And then my boundary is also stronger in the next relationship that I have with someone because I'm learning the lessons that I'm supposed to be learning through these people. So I wonder how much you could learn about yourself when you start to view dating and relationships and this connection with other people as your lessons to be learned in this lifetime, and how freeing and positively uplifting it can feel for you and your soul and your body when you start to actually pay attention to all of the micro things that are happening in your creation of a connection. Is it actually your emotion, or is it just dependency? Is it actually your emotion, or are you just picking up on a projection of their emotion? And vice versa. Are you just projecting for the sake of trying to scramble, or is that actually how you're feeling? How can you utilize this space to create more warmth and love and acceptance for yourself and your soul, as well as being able to see other people's souls on a deeper level, as well as being able to look at other people and see them for who they are rather than what they do for you or for themselves. And I think that the dating world would change so dramatically if people stopped seeing it as a game of who can hurt who more and started seeing it as a game of how can I heal myself more from this? How can I grow as a person from this? Not how can I come out on top? How can I love myself more? Because honestly, the person who can walk away feeling secure in themselves and their boundaries and feel like they did the right things for them is always going to feel like they came out on top. I think everyone should feel like that. Like everyone in the world. And please, for the love of God, just don't stay stuck in the cycle trying to figure out, well, what's the lesson? Well, what's the lesson? Well, what's the lesson? Sometimes the lesson is that that person isn't compatible with you and you need to get the fuck out. Like just being more aware of yourself, being more aware of how you're feeling and what that person's life is making you feel, how their actions are making you feel. How are you and your reactions to their actions making you feel? Does it make you feel safe? Does it make you feel secure? Or does it make you feel fucking crazy? Because if you feel fucking crazy, chances are that's not a healthy dynamic between you two. And you're very much more than likely incompatible. Sorry. That was a lesson that you needed to learn from that. And once you solidify that lesson, the next person that comes along couldn't possibly be the same because you've already learnt the lesson. So if you're repeating the patterns and you continuously are dating the same type of guy, I really, really, really encourage you to try this aspect and this point of view when you go into dating. And of course, as per usual, let me know how you go. I want to hear your stories. I want to hear whether it worked for you, whether it didn't work for you, whether you had a realization about a past relationship, or whether you've just got to that point of being like, you know what, this person that I'm dating right now is actually not for me. Or if you've been able to extend your relationships and go so much deeper in your dating connections. Like, tell me, give me the gossip. Tell me what you've done. Tell me what you want. I want to hear it all. But definitely, definitely, definitely utilize the opportunity for what it actually is. And that is to get to know yourself better. To get to love yourself better. To be stronger in your values and your life and your terms. I love you. Happy dating. And I'll see you guys next week. Bye.